Hello, Mr. Gowrishankar Sundararajan. Today we're interviewing you for the entrepreneurship program at UTD. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for this moment. So I've been in the industry for more than 28 years. Spent a lot of time on consulting, management consulting. I went on to set up accelerators, then corporate innovation centers. I worked across airlines, logistics, and manufacturing companies setting up corporate innovation centers. Then went on to set up my own startup. My startup was to reverse diabetes, raised 3 rounds of funding, exited in 2023, and I wanted to do something different. So that's what brought me into UT Dallas. And here I teach an innovation course called Innovation at Work, which is almost like a capstone course where the students put themselves as entrepreneurs, work with corporates and startups in applying some of the innovation tools and framework to solve a business challenge.
That sounds great. So what's one mistake you often see new entrepreneurs make early on?
I think one mistake that I see new entrepreneurs make very early on, there is too much focus, or they assume that they know the market. I have seen this with many startups. They come up with a tech solution and they assume that this product is going to work well because they come with a very creative solution. And what we teach in this class is, hey, how do we take the assumptions out of the game? The customer speaks the truth. Is there a need for this product? Have you validated that even before you spend time in building the product? They spend too much time in building the product which does not have any market for it.
So what I see around in startups right now, what they do is they build up a social media profile. And so once the social media profile gets an audience, then they ask the audience, hey, what can we build for you? And then they build the product.
We go a little beyond that. That's why we don't call quantitative surveys very impactful. I give you 10 questions and say, give you choices to answer. The first 2 you put mine, the more as you start going on, you just start clicking. What you don't gain is some of the insights why you're answering those questions. So the best way I always talk about entrepreneurs is go on the field and talk to actual customers, talk to actual stakeholders. What are the challenges? Why those challenges exist? If you have found a challenge, I'm sure 10 other people have found. So there's a reason it exists. So your solution is only as good as how you understand the problem. So there is no replacement to going out doing your own field work and assessing it.
What separates someone with an idea from someone who actually becomes a founder of a startup?
2 things. One, the idea has to be commercial. Ideas are great, but you got to build a commercial model out of it. It needs to make revenue. If it doesn't make revenue, then it's just an idea. Every day I get new ideas. Making the idea work. So one is commercial, second is execution. Ideas are easy, but it's execution, that's where your discipline needs to go. You are going to keep changing your execution till you perfect it. You got to be ready to be flexible. But make it commercial, make it execution happen. That's the key to becoming a successful founder.
What makes innovation inside a big company so much different than innovation inside a small startup company?
Small startups are a lot more flexible. They have not built the corporate structures, bureaucracies, the KPIs, etc. So they are a lot more daring. They are a lot more flexible to try out new things and explore and evolve. Large corporates, the biggest challenge is their own processes, which has worked well for them in the past. They also are answerable to the board for financial impact, etc. So that's always the first priority when it comes to business. So that's why in large corporates, when there are separate innovation centers set up, they work much better than if the innovations are within the whole organization centers.
So speed and how fast?
Flexibility.
What's the biggest myth about entrepreneurship that needs to go away?
Most creative idea will be the most successful startup. Absolutely no. You can have the exact, if you are thinking about an idea, I can bet there are 10 people thinking about a similar idea. Convert the idea to a product and make the whole process work, execution. That's what. People always think that I have the most creative idea and that's it. Some of the most successful startups are very simple to understand ideas. No complexity at all.
So execution is more important than the idea itself.
Exactly.
Do entrepreneurs need to make money before they start a startup, or can they start off lean or by themselves with no money?
Let me paraphrase that. You don't need a huge capital to launch a startup. You can start lean. In fact, we want startups to start lean. I don't like startups who burn a lot of cash in creating the product without even testing if there's a market for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you absolutely should start lean, but you should also start making revenues.
Okay.
What I mean is once your products are MVP tested, you need to test out whether it can make revenue or not.
Yeah.
You cannot always be on a free model. That doesn't work.
Mhm.
So absolutely you got to start lean. And once you have your MVP, you need to find ways to make money.
What skill or mindset do you try to instill in every student that you teach here at UTD?
Number one, curiosity. You look at the same problem, but you should have a different lenses for looking at the same problem. So that comes with curiosity, asking questions, building a new perspective of the same problem. That's really important. Second thing we also look at is an outside-in view. This is where your assumptions go out of the whole game. Inside-out view is, the moment you look at the problem, you think, hey, I know what the problem is, I know a solution. Outside-in view is, I don't know why the problem is, let me find out why it exists. I can come with hypothesis for that, but I need to validate based on an outside-in view before I can start building solution. So curiosity, build an outside-in view, that's very important.
If you had 60 seconds to speak to your younger self before your first venture, what would you say?
Number one, I would say that I should have gone on an entrepreneurship path
Much earlier.
Number two, build a strong domain knowledge. Whichever field you want to pick on, no problem. But pick one field, build a strong domain knowledge. That's what helps you in making your solutions much better. Number three, network early and build strong relationship. Networking is not sending a friend request on a LinkedIn and then getting accepted. Networking is beyond that. So you got to network. The moment you know what's your domain, you got to network with experts, you got to network with suppliers, etc. So when you are coming up with idea, you have someone to bounce off, test out, etc. So start early, build strong domain knowledge, build strong networks. That's what helps.
When picking the domain to build a strong knowledge about, more specific, is that the better one, or should you try to generalize your domain knowledge?
So let's say if you are in a tech field, then become good in tech field. Let's say you are on the insurance side, understand how the insurance model works, so that when you are put with a problem, you can wear a different hat and come out with a solution. Let's say you are on an airline business, you should know how the airline business works before you go on. If you are an outsider coming in, you can still do it, but you'll have to go through a whole learning curve. So have at least one or two domain expertise, then you start apply the business knowledge. End of the day, it's for business. You got to make money. So even if you know tech very well, you need to understand the business and how to make money. But at least you should have one foothold on your domain well before you try. The others could be exploratory.
How has teaching entrepreneurship at UT Dallas shaped your own views on innovation and startups?
I got to keep pace with changing market landscape and technology landscape. So if I want my students to become entrepreneurs, I need to learn new frameworks. I need to bring them onto what's happening today in the market. I can't be 10 years old. So I need to keep learning. I need to understand what's happening in the market. What are startups doing? What's something really creative happening? What are investors looking for? Where are the trends going in? So I spend a lot of time. I attend a lot of startup events. I am also part of Angel Network Group. So I meet with investors to understand where is the trends going. So I got to keep pace with the changing market landscape.
What key skills do you believe today's students must cultivate to succeed as entrepreneurs or corporate innovators?
I think number one is questioning. We always believe in something called as qualitative interviews, not quantitative interviews. So typical surveys, a qualitative interview starts by asking things like why, which are not divergent questions, we call it. Okay. So questioning is important. Okay. And number two, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to have a team. The team doesn't mean that you are the leader or anything. Team of complementary skills to make things happen. If you're working as a corporate innovator, you need to understand what are the boundaries of the corporate innovation. Most organizations, let's say, for example, I'm in an airline business. I will have an innovation center that adds revenue to my airline business or airline services. But if I start coming up with, let's say, that I want to make the next best a car, that's not in their scope. As an entrepreneur, I can be quite open. But when you are in a corporate entrepreneurship, you need to understand what's the boundaries of entrepreneurship, which is acceptable within the organization. And especially corporate entrepreneurship, you need to also be budget conscious. How do you manage the budgets within the organization? One last thing, and I insist on many entrepreneurs, is learn accounting. You need to know what is money coming in, what is money going out, what are your supply chains coming in, going out. You need to have a very good track of that. Only then you can plan. Otherwise, it's all haphazard. So you need to have at least one person in your team who's an accountant.
When you're building a team and you don't have capital, how do you build the right team or get the right talent to come onto your startup?
I think you don't need capital to build a team.
Okay.
You come up, whoever is coming up with the idea, you look at what it is needed to build the product and what are the complementary skills you need. There is capital around. There are capital around in terms of grants. There are capital around in terms of funds available from accelerators, etc. There is capital around. So I have not known a good startup who says that because of lack of capital, they didn't go on build the product.
Okay.
No. You need to have the team with the right skills to not just build the product, also to go to market. You need to have, like I said, you need to have an accountant. You also need a marketing guy in your team. Great products lie in the lab or in the computer. Unless it's marketed well, you don't create a demand for it. So build a team with the right complementary skills.
How do you build a team if you don't have, at the very beginning, if you don't have the resources first, how do you build a team to get the runway?
So number one, you find people who are ready to join us. They have an equity, they work on a dream.
Okay.
Most important, they work on realizing a dream, right? They don't work on salaries. So you got to find founders who are passionate about building something, number one. And then number two is what skills they bring to the table. Does it help? Number three, are you able to work with them?
Okay.
Sometimes you don't need a super intelligent guy, but if there is someone with whom your team dynamics works really well, you don't need someone who puts on the team. As a startup, there are going to be days when your motivation level is going to be completely down. And the next day morning, you got to come and recharge the entire team. And one guy can never do that every day. So it's a team. Somebody will pick up that to motivate the team to go on to the next battle. So you need people who are compatible, you need people who are complementary, and you need people who have the passion to do something.
How do you incorporate your industry experience into teaching at the Naveen Jindal School of Management?
I think I have been lucky enough to get a diverse experience. I worked on public sector. I worked across multiple industries and corporates. I worked with VCs in setting up accelerators. I've been an entrepreneur myself, struggled completely. So I've been grateful in having a diverse experience. That helps me in when you build diverse experience, they say you better become an academic. So when a student comes up with ideas, I'm able to guide them better. I'm a process guy, but having the industry knowledge helps me in looking at what are the right questions to ask or what's the industry structure to understand it better. So that helps me. And number two, been working with the corporates, I always, as a consultant, the mind rings, where is the money? And I work with startups, and I always start with the question, where is the money? How is it going to make money? Ideas are great. Have you figured out how you're going to make money?
Yeah.
Is it practical? And third thing I look at, again, being a consultant working with startups, is I want practical steps. Plans are great on PPT, but if tomorrow I got to make it happen, I want practical steps. So I keep pushing the students in making sure the steps they come out with are really practical.
When you're working with students or your other startups in UT Dallas, do you mainly focus on the research or do you focus on just plain product?
I look at mostly on the product or service. Research for pure research is great. There is a different stream of people who do that. I'm looking at commercial angle. So when you're building a product or a service, it needs to be based on sound data that you need to do.
Yeah.
But you need to quickly get on building the product and making it happen. I am not in the field where people can write papers on it. Okay? I want them to build a product completely.
How should startups prepare differently compared to established corporations when entering strategic partnerships?
Absolutely. I think Startups, when they look for partnerships, they look for mainly who can give me the next customer or who can reduce my cost. Corporates, when they look at partnership, they are a little more strategic. They think long term. How it's going to add more shareholder value? Is my brand value going to go up with that partnership? Are they going to open up new markets to look at? So the level of analysis is very different. Startups are very short term focused, and corporates will be long term focused.
How do you approach mentoring the next generation of entrepreneurs and executives?
My approach is same, whether it's entrepreneurs or executives. And my mode is I try to put as much as in the shoes of the person. The difference between a consultant and a mentor is I got to think from their point of view and create solution. So let me give an example. Let's say that my mentee has a problem with raising funds. I cannot go within that, hey, there is option A, option D. And that's typical academic exercise. What he wants is tell me exactly who's the contact, whom I can go next, what meeting can I set up to make it happen.
Yeah.
So you got to put yourself in your mentee's shoes and solve the problem, not give ideas. Okay. So it requires a different thinking when you are mentoring them. Okay. You are not just coming up with a framework and say, hey, follow the framework, it will happen. Okay. Second thing, I don't like handing out answers, because if I hand out answers, then they always need me.
Yeah.
Right. So keep nudging them till they can get answers. They can move out of their comfort zone. So that's my job. I keep nudging them.
Yeah.
Okay. And don't give ready-made answers.
Okay. Looking back at your career, what is one of the most proudest moment of your professional career?
I think proudest moment has certainly been getting my startup and running.
Yeah.
I was industry consulting for about 18 years before I decided to launch my own startup. And the day one, I realized that, hey, it's easy to consult and advise, and doing it is very different. Okay. You got to fold up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and do it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not get 10 people to help you. You got to do it. You got to figure it out. Nobody gives you an answer. Go figure. Okay. So that and achieving a success, raising investments was certainly a big achievement. Yeah.
Okay. How do you stay motivated and continue to innovate after such a long and successful career?
I get excited by looking at new ideas and what impact it can create on society. I keep looking at startup news. I keep reading articles. And when I meet students, they come up with new ideas. That excites me. I'm currently mentoring an augmented reality startup.
Oh, okay.
This startup been conceived by 3 kids, all in the early 20s. And they are doing amazingly well with the startup on how do you convert kids' storybooks into augmented reality.
Oh, okay.
When I looked at it, I said, wow, there is great opportunity for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I look at any startup and I look at, hey, there is great opportunity. How can I help them grow? That keeps exciting me. New startups, thinking new, energetic team keeps my energy going.
Yeah.
And learning new things. Okay. I don't mind folding up my sleeve and learning AI, which is not there.
Yeah.
And because tomorrow when I'm talking to mentoring some startups, I need to understand how it can help them in reality. Okay. So I keep learning myself, and I'm keeping excited by new ideas that's coming around.
Okay. So, to continue on that, what exciting trends or technologies are you most interested in right now?
Certainly augmented reality. This is something I've been working with this startup for the last 2 months. I see huge potential. VR is yet to come. Okay, there are a lot of tests going on until there is a standardized VR. So that's one area where I'm certainly excited. AI is certainly doing a lot of wonders. The only thing is, majority of the organizations are using AI for reducing cost. In fact, I may dare say more than 80% are using AI to reduce costs. We are yet to see the impact of AI creating new revenue streams, new opportunities, and that part is what excites me as technology side. There are new fields growing up. Okay, whether it in terms of a life coach. Life field itself was not existing. Esports, it's a non-disruptive creation.
Yeah.
It has not destroyed any other traditional sports. Complete new market it has created.
Yeah.
Okay. Now esports is part of Olympics. Okay. We yet to establish a structure for esports evolve. Okay. So some of these new industries, new market spaces are exciting, and that will grow.
Okay. Are you focused on B2B or B2C when you're looking at a startup? What do you prefer working with?
I would prefer B2C. There is a B2B easier market compared to B2C. It's not the case. I think B2C, if you have the right marketing trends, etc., you should be able to catch that.
Okay.
So I'm certainly more into B2C. Probably say like 51-49. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you in terms of technology, research, or teaching entrepreneurship here?
I think let me focus on teaching. I spoke on technology a few minutes ago. Teaching part. I want to see at least few of my students go out and create their own startups.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest success. I still feel we as university have a long way to go in enabling that.
Yeah.
We are running few courses. Students don't want courses. Students, we need to encourage, motivate students to build their own.
Yeah.
What kind of an easy test we can create where they can build startups? What kind of relationships we can bring to university so that it helps some of these startups build a supply chain? What kind of funds and encouragement we can bring in to help the startups? What kind of networks we can bring in? That's going to help. We as university need to do a lot more than what we are doing today to enable some of these students to build successful startups. And you don't need to be part of an entrepreneurship course to build a startup. Anybody can. You can be an engineering student, build. You can be even an art student. That kind of a mindset is something university needs to instill on them. And that is our job that we need to do. So I think we as university still have a long way to go in creating like the catalyst platform, create. Okay. Entrepreneurs are the one drive technology, drives the economy in our space, creates job. So we want entrepreneurs coming out of UTD, and we have to do a lot more.
Okay. Thank you, Sundararajan, for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
Thank you.